Hey guys, this is the video for comparing decimals that's on pages 71 through 72. For the introduction, you need to know that going this way would make ones place, and you're very familiar with that. Ones, tens, hundreds, etc. Going to the decimal to the right, there's no such thing as a 1th place. We start off with tenths. So one number after the decimal is the tenths, then the hundredths, then the thousandths, then 10,000ths, 100,000ths, millionths, just like you would normally do, except the only thing that's different is there's no such thing as a 1th. So when if you read the top part, which I hope you read before we did this, it's saying after the decimal you can add zeros or take them away, and it doesn't change the meaning of how much it is. So you can add zeros or take them away to make them go to the place value that you want it to go to. That way you can, when you're comparing, which is going to be greater than or less than, you can tell which one's bigger and which one's smaller. Excuse me, my dog's trying to get into the video. Go on, Daisy. Okay, so for section 1, they want you to make everything end in the tenths place, and so for all of these you're going to have to just take off zeros. And since tenth is one place after the decimal, so you're just going to take off that 0, so 0.20 would become 0.2, 0.500 would become 0.5, and 0.70 would become 0.7. And that's just saying that you can take off all those zeros. It's not like place value with your ones. They don't matter when you go after the decimal. Okay, for section 2, they want you to end in the hundredths place, which would be 2 places after the decimal. Now the first one you're going to have to add a 0 because you only have 0.2, so it'll change to 0.20. The next one you're going to add a 0, 0.50, and then the last one you're going to take off a 0, making it 0.30, and all of these now end in the hundredths place. For section 3, they wanted to end in the thousandth place, and that's 3 places after the decimal, so it needs 3 numbers after the decimal. So you'll need to add 2 zeros for A, so that would be 0.200. You need to add 1 0 for B, which would be 0.210, and you need to take off a 0 for C, so that would be 0.300. And then section 4 goes all the way to the millionths. So tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths, 100,000ths, millionths, that's 6 places. So that's 6 places after the decimal. Let me get that all in there for you. Okay, so 6 places after the decimal, you have 1 here, so you're going to need to add 5 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here you have 4 numbers, so you'll need to add 2 zeros, 0.294300, and then here you'll need to add 3 zeros, 0.685000, and just make sure that they all end with 6 places after the decimal. The next section we're going to get into the greater than or less than. Remember, this first one is greater than. That means this number is greater than that number. And that one's less than, this number is less than that number. It always starts with the first one, the first number listed. So they give you 0.8 and 0.83. The first thing you want to do is when you're comparing them is make them both end in the same place. And since this one ends in the hundredths, you make this one end in the hundredths. So now they both end in the hundredths, and 83 is bigger than 80. So 0.80 is less than 0.83. Okay, so B says 0.721 and 0.72. You just make this one end in the thousandth place, just like this one. And then you can see that 721 is bigger than 720. So 0.721 is greater than 0.720. C is 3.5 and 3.49, and since this ends in the hundredths, you need to make this end in the hundredths. So now you have 3.50 is bigger than 3.49. So 3.550 hundredths or 3.49 hundredths. This one's bigger. Oh, I keep putting those ones there, but those are 5s. My apologies. Okay, so 5D gives you 0.3 and 0.333. Since this one ends in the thousandths, you make this one go to the thousandths, and 333 is bigger than 300. Okay, those are as many as I'm going to do for that section. You need to finish that section on your own. Now let's move on to section 6. Section 6 is wanting you to turn these decimals into fractions, and it's super easy. The first one says 23 over 100. And when you're looking at these powers of 10, you can look at how many zeros are in your power of 10. By power of 10, I mean 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000. However many zeros there are, that's how many places after the decimal the number should land. So 23 100ths should be 2 places after the decimal. 2 zeros, 2 places. So that's 0.23. Super easy. 6B is 17 1,000. Now if you look, you have 3 places after the decimal, but you only have 2 numbers. You can't put the 0 at the end because that would make 170, and we need the number to be 17. So you put it at the front, and now your number is 17. See, if you would have put it at the back, your number would have been 170, and that's not what we wanted. We want the number to be 17. So that is 0.017. You needed to add a 0, so make sure you add it to the front when you do these, because you need the value to be 17. And then you have 6/10. That's 1 place after the decimal and 1 number, which gives you 0.6. And then in our class, we did the greens, so you need to do 6D and 6E. Section 7 says write these as decimals as fractions, but do not reduce, and that's super easy too. Okay, so section 7 has 0.56. So your number on top is going to be 56. And then how many numbers after the decimal? That's hundredths place. So that's 56 100ths. So super easy. Sorry, that's 7A. Goodness. Okay, and then 7B is 0.2. That's in the tenths place. So that's 2/10. And then 7C is 0.873. And that's in the thousandths place. So that would be 873 thousandths. And then you also need to do the greens on that one. On the back, on finding your answers, you should know how to do all those. We worked on them as a class, and I let them do those at the board, but you can do the back by yourself. Okay, see you tomorrow when I do the next lesson.